Traverse lines are setups that provide protection for canyoneers as we progress horizontally in exposed sections, keeping us safe as we approach the rappel anchor. Modern canyon boating practices aim at having anchors at the very edge of a drop. This allows us to see the drop on its entirety and also better manage abrasion points. These anchors usually require a traverse line to be approached safely. The retrievable traverse line technique can be used in any scenario, as long as we have a solid anchor at the start. The term retrievable means that this setup can be de-rigged from the rappel anchor, eliminating the need for us to go back to the starting point of the traverse line. There are two methods for rigging retrievable traverse lines: self-lower or teammate lower. The self-lower is by far the most common method, and it's very useful for gentle slopes when we don't need to use our hands to overcome obstacles. To perform this technique, you will need the following equipment: a rope at least twice the length of the traverse distance, a small rope bag, locking carabiners, and a master point carabiner. Start by checking the anchors at the start of the traverse line. Then, thread the rope through the rings, always keeping redundancy. Tie a figure of 8 on a bight, clip a locking carabiner onto it, and then onto the large opening of your descender. On the backside strand, ensure there is a BFK at the end of the line. Next, install the backside line onto your descender on fast mode. The use of fast mode is required due to the additional friction of the rope running through the traverse line anchors. Ask a teammate to belay you by pinching the ropes together. This will prevent you from falling in case of accidental release. You're ready to start. Progress towards the anchor as you feed the rope through your descender. Try to keep in tension to improve your efficiency. As you approach the rappel anchor, perform a lock-off on your descender. Check that the rappel anchors are in good condition and create a master point. Clip a lanyard onto the master point, undo the lock-off on your descender, and descend until you're in tension on your lanyard. You can then remove the carabiner from your descender and clip it onto the master point. Tighten the traverse line and finish it off by tying a figure of 8 on a bight or a clove hitch and clipping it onto the traverse line carabiner. The use of a clove hitch allows for adjustability of the traverse line tension. As for the de-rigging, start by removing the figure of 8 on the bight or clove hitch from the traverse line carabiner. Make sure you keep control of that strand. Then, remove the other figure of 8 on a bight from the carabiner. Untie it, make sure the strands don't cross each other, and pull from the backside. The key points for these techniques are: ensure there's a BFK at the end of the traverse line rope before starting this technique. Install the rope in fast mode on your descender. Request the belay from a teammate in case of accidental release of the brake strand. Maintain control of 2 strands of rope while de-rigging. In case of exposed traverses requiring you to use both hands to overcome obstacles, it might be necessary to request a teammate to lower you down. The steps for a teammate lowered traverse line are: start by checking the anchors at the start of the traverse line. Then, thread the rope through the rings, making sure to keep redundancy. Tie a figure of 8 on a bight and a locking carabiner. and then clip it onto your central attachment point. Next, make sure there's a BFK at the end of the traverse line rope. Install the rope in fast mode on your teammate's descender. Communicate with your teammate about the steps. Audio and visual signals must be very clear from the start. Make sure you keep in tension on the traverse line. This will prevent accidental cross-loading of the carabiner. As you approach the anchor, communicate to your teammate to stop. Your teammate should then perform a soft lock on their descender. Check that the rappel anchor is in good condition and create a master point. Then clip one of your lanyards onto the master point and ask your teammate to release you. As you get in tension on your lanyard, you will be able to unclip the traverse line carabiner and clip it onto the master point. Your teammate should tighten the traverse line and tie a knot block very close to the traverse line anchors on the bag side. Your teammate can then progress on the traverse line, bringing the other strand to you. Either you or your teammate can finish off the traverse line by tensioning it and tying a figure of 8 knot or a clove hitch onto the traverse line carabiner. As for the de-rigging, you may or may not be required to remove the knot block from the traverse line, depending on the configuration of the terrain and the risk of getting that jammed. If this is the case, ask the last teammate to undo the knot block prior to progressing on the traverse line. You should then retighten the traverse line and then proceed to de-rig accordingly. The key points for this technique are: ensure there's a BFK at the end of the traverse line rope. Keep tension on the traverse line to prevent accidental cross-loading of your carabiner. Clearly communicate the steps with your teammate prior to starting, and ensure to keep control of both strands when de-rigging. For very long or very exposed traverse lines, it might be required for us to install additional protection to keep us safe. That is the subject of our next video, so we'll see you there.